Coinbase case causing some ripples in crypto. We'll break that down for you guys today. What tokens could range for you and really what to expect over the next few months. So make sure and stay on with this one. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. Let's get into it. I do want to thank our partner, and that is iTrust Capital. You're looking at long-term holding on something like a crypto IRA. This is a place to do it. It's a great opportunity for you guys to maybe look at more tax positioning. Maybe right now you're already doing your tax planning and you're thinking, what can I do for 2024 that really sets me up? This is a good place to start. Check it out. You can, of course, trade very low cost on ETH, Bitcoin, all within your IRA right there on iTrust Capital. Use our link, get a $100 funding reward if you decide to check it out. All right, let's get into a few points here. One, of course, is the Coinbase case. What happened yesterday? We did a full video. If you guys didn't check it out, go look at that one because it breaks down all of what Judge has really kind of covered on not only where Coinbase is going, but also the potential of whether this gets dismissed or not. This all started all the way back here last year. And of course, this was June 6th. Coinbase was hit with the SEC lawsuit that identified 37 billion in crypto tokens. I think everybody kind of knows who those are. All right, so in this article, Coinbase disputed, obviously, the situation with the SEC authority in federal court. And if you didn't listen to our full video, we did a full breakdown of the hearing itself. A lot of juicy tidbits in there, so go back and check that out. Within the article, there's a couple of points here, and also Attorney Jeremy Hogan making some statements on this. This was all around the 13 tokens, Solana, Cardano, Polygon, Filecoin, etc. You saw Axie in there, Chiliz in there, Flow in there, which is kind of the underdog of all of these. This could be one of the tokens to really keep an eye on because of its value compared to some of these others. So one to watch. Jeremy Hogan talked about this in reference to the judge basically saying, hey, there's unlikely, he thought, very unusual that motions to dismiss are actually granted. But because she has so much awareness, I think this is a little bit different case. And of course, if you listen to the hearing notes and some of the recordings we grabbed for you, you can start to see all of this painting out. I think that this is going to benefit Coinbase. Now, what's the percentage of a case actually coming to trial? That, I think, is the bigger question. We're going to answer that tomorrow with Meta Lawman. He's going to hopefully be able to give us a legal opinion on it because I think he was there. So we'll get a full rundown of that. Eleanor Terrett, of course, tweeted on this, another exchange. SEC lawyers, these 12 tokens, 13 tokens are computer code. The judge interrupted and she said, hey, sorry, this is kind of what your friends at the back table referring to Coinbase are saying and wondering what we're doing here. So this was a problem for the SEC to actually set their case up. They were struggling, and that's, to me, was a bit surprising. I thought they would really come out strong with a very, very succinct position, and it was not the case at all. Now, remember that Robinhood, this goes again back to when these were all delisted off of Coinbase. Robinhood delisted these as well, also June 9th. And if you look at these, that whole list, all of those took a hit. I'll go over some charts real quick. We'll take a look at Solana, and let's zoom in on that date right there. You can kind of see the move right here, which was, I mean, not dramatic, but it did have an effect on where we were seeing the movement on it. This was almost 30% just in a few days there on the daily chart. And you can also see the amount of money flow kind of coming out of here. This is on the Lux Algo chart that continued throughout this period of time. This was happening for several weeks here with Solana. And that was, of course, back when Solana was hovering around that price of around 28 bucks, which would have been a great buy had you known that Solana was going to have such a rebound. So this one, of course, is Cardano, also on the same period of time, same issue. So these delistings had pretty significant impact. 30%, that's a big number. And it continued to see a little bit of downtrends around these kinds of issues because it did kind of shock the industry because then everybody was wondering how many more tokens could also get delisted. Last up that I want to take a look at here was MATIC. And same kind of scenario right there, Friday the 10th. There was that weekend of a bloodbath, 45, almost 50% here for MATIC. Now, it did recover a little bit, and it did also have some, but the point is some traders probably panic sold. And that's the impact of these kinds of things. So you have to think on the other side of this. If these get relisted, within Coinbase or others, what kind of impact is that going to have on this next potential trading cycle? So that's the one thing that we are watching for sure. Other things to kind of keep an eye on, of course, within the markets itself. Just in, BlackRock now holds 25,000. I mean, this is growing by the day of Bitcoin over 1.6 billion for their spot right now, continuing to climb. And then further, if you look at Wu Blockchain here, they're talking about GBDC, mainly on outflows, because this is something that we're going to continue to see. And you'll notice that with Grayscale, notice right here, first 3 days, here's the outflow numbers. You can kind of see the inflows, the comparisons. I mean, this is not going to end well, or it doesn't appear to be going to end well for Grayscale. I'm just kind of curious, how long does this take before we truly see BlackRock become kind of the behemoth in the room? A lot happening on the ETF here. Breaking, of course, Bitcoin ETFs just hit a record with their highest ever net inflows, massive, almost 10,000 Bitcoin in one day. So again, very, very big move. Now, it hasn't had big moves on Bitcoin, the price, because I think we're going to continue to see a little bit of stabilization here on Bitcoin. Now, do we see Bitcoin get a retracement? I think that's the other factor. When we've been tracking this on our market sentiment index, Bitcoin has been declining. So there has been a little bit of timing there. I'm going to go and take a look at Bitcoin real quick. So here's the Bitcoin daily chart. You can kind of see a little bit of the peel off there back here on Friday the 12th. The adjustment sideways, a little bit of a red day right now, what we're dealing with. And again, this goes down to 41. This is the question mark that I think a lot of people are having. Remember, money flow coming out, starting to go into a problem here. If you guys aren't checking out the Lux Algo indicators, make sure and check them out. This right here is the price oscillator matrix that does a really good job on tracking money flow. So it's one of those that you can kind of catch some of these a little bit ahead of time. And if you haven't checked out some of the indicators on this, go over and just go to your invite only. If you're in Lux Algo, get your signals and overlays. That's one of the other charts that I'll use that gives us, some good bullish and bearish sentiment. This, of course, was the bearish sentiment move that we're currently witnessing over this past week. So much like what we're seeing with sentiment data from the MSI also playing into this. Further into this, I want to kind of go through a couple other points here on Twitter that really kind of gets into, some other situations happening overall. This is from DGen News breaking, about Grayscale basically sending another 418 million worth of Bitcoin to Coinbase Prime. Does this mean that this is them just settling out? What does this necessarily mean for Bitcoin long term? Again, ETFs, will they have a real impact on the future of Bitcoin? I think it's still more tuned into macro and the halving and what we'll see within the rest of the market. Now, ETH is the one that I'm very interested in because I feel like this is the one that has the potential to set up in May. If you look at some of the dates that are potentially lined up for, do we get maybe the SEC coming in with a true spot ETF for Ethereum? This is Mark Yusko talking about his opinion. Listen to what he had to say.
I think the big challenge is timing. I mean, it took 10 years to go from the first application by the Winklevoss twins for an ETF in Bitcoin to approval yesterday. So, look, the SEC didn't want to approve this. It was clear in the chairman's statement that, we're approving the ETFs, but we're not approving or endorsing Bitcoin. At one point, they said Ethereum was not a security, but then they kind of backed away from that. They pretty much just said anything else is a security. So probably not going to have ETFs in those anytime soon. I would say it's less than 70% chance. I'd probably say less than 50-50. I think it'll just come down to, are the people that run the firms that manage these assets willing to do the hard work to make it happen? So we'll see how that goes.
All right. So first of all, we've had Mark on the channel many times. I agree with him a lot of times. I disagree with him on this one. I feel like ETH is most likely going to get a position. And if you look at some, and he even mentioned this, some of the firms, if they really put the hammer down, start to really look at the potential for an ETH ecosystem and what they might want to be able to do to present the case, you've got things like Franklin Templeton here. We're excited about ETH as an ecosystem despite the midlife crisis it's recently experienced. We've seen a bright future, many strong tailwinds, including a lot of these new advancements within ETH overall. So the fact that we're seeing Franklin Templeton, which seems a little bit degen, these guys are really going after it because they're talking about inscriptions, all sorts of things. That's ironic that we've got Wall Street actually referencing these terms and tools. All right, so let's don't stop there with Franklin Templeton. This, of course, is them talking about Solana. A couple of things in the article right here. $1 trillion asset management firm Franklin Templeton praised for the Solana network. So a lot of, they get it. I think they get what the opportunity is here with a lot of these layer ones. So growth in decentralized finance, infrastructure networks, NFTs, even meme coins, all in Solana, most notable developments in the last quarter. We've seen a lot of this, and we've already kind of tracked a lot of this down for you guys. If you're watching our channel, you've probably seen most of this kind of get down there. But even kind of, changing its current laser eye profile to what they're doing now with the knitted hat. I don't know. They're having fun with it. That's a good thing because I think Wall Street is now starting to understand what is up here and the opportunity that kind of presents overall. The other thing that's playing into this is the whole idea around central bank digital currency. Now that we're getting onto Wall Street with crypto, the next kind of question is what about regulation? What about a stable coin? And then what happens if we get a CBDC? Here's Trump talking about what this means. And this was just here the other day. Listen in.
Tonight, I'm also making another promise to protect Americans from government tyranny. As your president, I will never allow the creation of a central bank digital currency. Do you know about that? Ooh. I didn't know you know so much. I'm very, well, New Hampshire, very smart people. Very current. You know what they're doing. Such a currency would give a federal government, our federal government, the absolute control over your money. They could take your money, you wouldn't even know it was gone. This would be a dangerous threat to freedom, and I will stop it from coming to tonight.
All right, so Trump, not a big fan of CBDC. Good, I think, overall. The fact that he's aware of it, this could also be a play where Trump is trying to angle in on a little of the mojo that Vivek Ramaswamy had around the Bitcoin crowd, because he was very pro-blockchain, pro-Bitcoin. Maybe Trump is actually going to come into the lane of crypto and use it to pick up that last little need he's going to have to really run for president and be able to take on Biden. So interesting that the politics are playing such a big role in this. Now, you look at macro is still in the wind. I think that might be one of the reasons we're still seeing a little bit of a stall in the market right now. U.S. debt just broke 34 trillion, meaning U.S. debt is now up 1 trillion in the past 3 months, 2 trillion in 6, 4 trillion in 4 years, and 11 trillion in the past 4 years. This is crazy. So, man, you see the chart of the potential here. What this simply means is dollar devaluation, currency devaluation. When you have currency devaluation, which is really what we have here in the U.S., it's not necessarily inflation. It's a devaluation of currency. That's where crypto circumvents all of this, because that is the new form of how the potential of being able to really kind of understand the monetary system is going. So that's why we talk about it so much. Last up here is Goldman Sachs thinks the first rate cut may be a little bit later than March. If that actually happens, which I believe it will be as well, I don't think we get one in March. I think the CPI number that we printed in January was indicative, unless we see a reversal that is massive, or we see potentially any issue around, stagflation potentially looming. Okay, maybe at that point we start to see some potential changes. But I think that the market has overpriced in the situation on these rate cuts, because there was as many as 5 rate cuts that were anticipated. I think this is going to be boiling down to a handful, if maybe very few, meaning we're going to see higher for longer until the market really starts to address that overall. All right, so let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think we're going to get a rate cut? Do you feel like the market is going to see just a slow trot down? Are we going to see an under 40K Bitcoin? And if we do, what does that do for you in terms of changing your strategy going forward? Are you still long-term, or are you playing this back and forth with swing trades? Let me know. Drop some comments down below. If you're not at the Diamond Circle, make sure and get into that. It's a great place to get additional content. And of course, all you have to do is click the link down below. Catch me on X, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.